Hello, up to poem 78. Now, this poem brings us almost up to date. I wrote this one in on the 7th of July 2025, and this year, where I'm sitting now. And it was based on really the news cycle of war, whether it be Gaza or Syria or Iran or Sudan or Ukraine, Slava Ukraine, and my fear that we as a nation care so deeply, and yet is that care and that desire to help making us weak? I think about the 20th century man that I was raised to be, what I call hero masculinity, and I hear the care with which we expect everyone to be treated in our modern society, and how words have become massively offensive, and you need to be thinking about what you're saying. And I was raised with sticks and stones will break your bones, but words can never hurt you. But now it seems that words and people hearing opinions they don't share offends people, and being offended is, for some people, traumatic. And I find that bizarre. I have many friends, majority of them male, but many female, and there's a lot of anger out there. There's a lot of anger out there, and it seems to be being stoked by all kinds of things. And I hear the people that care, and I hear the people that are angry by too much care for too many people. And then I look at our news cycles and I consider whether things are swung to caring too much. And then when people look at us from outside the UK, they see it as a weakness that can be played on, a weakness that can be used to their benefits. And whether that be nations or individuals, whatever, it strikes me that the liberal values which I support, and I've always considered myself a liberal, become a rallying cry for people who think we're a soft touch. And going back to the wars that are going on, we have to consider that we might have, as a nation, to stand up and fight for what we believe, which is democracy and, in my book, freedom of speech. A lot of people think that's being eroded. I'm not sure. Now, I said I was going to keep these short, but this train of thought is something that worries me, because I hear a lot of anger from many of my friends, and then I hear the other side from others of my friends who think everyone needs to be cared for and looked after, and we should be doing more. And there is a balance to be struck, but I'm not sure whether that balance is there. Can we be the whole world's go-to? Or maybe we just need to be ready to stand up for what we believe again. And I'm not sure if the younger generation are ready for the commitment that might fall into their laps. Anyway, I shut up. This has gone on a bit longer than I expected. 4 minutes 30 already. If you're still here, thank you. The poem is called To Age, to Change or Not. And I consider myself a 20th century man raised on hero masculinity. And the poem is based on what I see happening to society and what I consider my role. And if I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but have we got the mettle to actually do what we need to do again, or might need to do again. Anyway, to age, to change or not. Written on the 7th of July 2025. To age and change as all around the world evolves, but can I change? The man I moulded from youth's inputs no longer feels included. Maybe I'm caput. The models once used, thrust into my mind of masculinity's role, is now in a bind. For now it feels youth looks at me ununderstanding. I'm a dinosaur's creed. Yet the news unfolding is talking of wars, and the youth so caring needs to toughen for tours. I know some citizens still understand the need to fight for all we believe, but has a majority become the minority in order to care for the few? What makes it worse is for others we look, weak and vulnerable, a target to take. Prepare we must to protect our kin, and once again we will be needing our men of yore. By Bunny Warren. I think too much sometimes, and I think having the time to observe both sides of the argument, because I consider myself fortunate enough to have friends, both genders, across the board politically, and I'm still in a world where I can hear stuff that I don't necessarily agree with, or even if I'm offended by it, I can still hear it. And I think too many people in this world stick themselves into echo chambers of social media and don't hear counter arguments. I was raised sitting in the corner of a pub from the age of 18, 17, probably actually. Corner of a pub, trying to make a pint last for hours and talking to people. And the way we engaged in conversations was by playing devil's advocate, taking the opposing view from someone, even if we agreed with them, even if we thought what they were saying was right, we would take the opposing view just because it enhanced the conversation, made us think more deeply. I'm concerned that that's not happening so much now, and maybe even it's not allowed to happen. And I go back to saying, what happens in a world where people aren't allowed to be offended? What happens when people aren't willing to hear an opposing view? Anyway, that's that rant that is now gone on for 8 minutes. So much for keeping it short, Bunny. I do these unscripted, I do these off the cuff, and forgive me for any mistakes I've made. If I've offended anyone, forgive me, please. But I think we all need to be offended occasionally and consider our views, and the world is a better place for people interacting and challenging each other's views. So, this is Bunny saying, Bunny out.